my veins, I've been driving this train. Years in this lane, there's no stopping this flame. Cause I came to the game and I changed it to play how I like, rearranged it to my own domain. Yeah, I got what it takes, made lots of mistakes, taking shots, skipping breaks, feeling lost, feeling great, popping off, singing straight, never stopped, never changed. All the squad here to play, and I've got something to say, yeah. I work hard each and every day, I get lost in the words I say. I don't push pause, no I push play. I won't stop till I make a change. I withdraw on the things I make. I turn flaws into flawless traits. I build tall, never capping space. I won't stop till I hear him say,
Welcome back, guys. We're back with Married at First Sight, Lifetime's Married at First Sight, Season 17, Episode 6, Cancun, Can't Touch This. How you doing today, Sean?
I'm well. Yourself? How you doing, Aubrey?
I am doing well. Thank you so much. Well, I will say this, as we usually talk about weather where we're at. I will say today, this being Sunday, November 26th, it's the first day that I have actually seen snow this season where I am. So it's
Wow.
yeah, it's a little bit of a light flurry here in Michigan, and from what Alexa's telling me, she says it's right at freezing right now at 32 degrees temperature. What about there where you are?
It's not warm. It's not cool, but it's kind of in between. It's about maybe 50s, mid 50s.
Okay, yeah. I guess I would say cool. When I used to work outside with electrical, I would definitely say that's cool. It's about the time we start really gearing our protective gear up, maybe
Oh yeah.
maybe not yet the underlining the oh, you know what, I can't think, the long johns, but probably
Mm-hmm.
about 40 degrees we're starting to put those on because we were outside all day and sometimes all night. So anyway, but what did you think of this episode? It's an interesting episode, I think, this time around. Hey there, Colton.
Yeah. Hey,
Everybody
Coach.
else.
How you doing? Um,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
it was a snooze fest today to me.
Yeah. It's
It was a
it's
snooze fest. Yeah.
interesting. A little bit of a snooze fest. Yeah, it's kind of interesting. Well, if you think it was a snooze fest this episode, I don't know what you're gonna do when Lauren and Orion exit, because as we can see and we can kind of tell, those of us that are old heads of Married at First Sight, I said it weeks ago, basically, to my colleagues, when we talked privately. I didn't want to alert anybody, but you can just basically tell if you watch the after party that Lauren's not there after the first week. They're not going to make it. They are
Mhm.
not. I'm sorry to tell you folks, but they are not going to make it.
Hey, Roro, how you doing? Yeah.
Yeah. Hey there, Roro. Get her up there. Yeah, and why do you think, if we just real quickly before we get to them, why do you think that they're not getting along in general, Lauren and Orion?
Well, even though both people try to be culturally aware, I think it's kind of like imbalance. It's very much
Okay,
imbalanced.
okay,
Yeah.
okay. Like imbalance in what way? Like, what do you mean?
Well, I think, I mean, I don't want to be biased, but I think that she is more giving towards him than he's more of a taker. He's not, he doesn't reciprocate the directly to what she gives. He claims he's a
Mm-hmm.
giver, but I think he's more of a taker than anything. That's what I believe.
Wow. Do you feel like, as a man, do you feel like he's attracted to her? Because I'm really doubting in my heart of hearts. I'm really feeling like this man is not attracted to this woman.
Well, I mean, of course, like I said, we've often said we see the edit, um, but she refers to him as her husband, and he always, yeah, yeah. I mean, he never said, "Well, my wife, so and so and so and so." You know, he
Ooh,
doesn't speak
good
about
point.
her, and he doesn't speak about her in terms of of relationship status words than that she speaks about him.
Right. You know what? I That's a good catch too. You're right. I have heard her say that several times. Like you said, she calls him her husband. I haven't really heard him refer to her as his wife. He just says Lauren. He just says he
Mhm.
calls her by her name, which is fine, but I don't know. I've always from a young woman, I've always felt that excuse me, uh I've always felt that it's important to have a fondness and affectionate name for your partner, whether it's
Mhm.
dear, darling, honey, sweetheart, babe. Some people say babe. I think it's important, and it was affirmed to me as a young woman when I met the young lady that was to become my best friend. Her mom and stepdad, who had been together several years, decades, one of the things her mom taught me, and she used to say, she says, if I can't call my husband sweetheart, honey, she says, and he can't do the same for me, he doesn't have an affectionate term to call me, something's something's just
It
not right.
is.
And I learned from that. I think that's very, very important that you have high regard for your partner. And I don't feel like Orion, not only does he, I don't feel like he particularly likes Lauren or is attracted to her. I don't think, furthermore, and it could be because of the situation last week that we saw when they were on the balcony when she laughed in his face about him being sunburned. I don't know what it is, or just things that we don't see that are off camera, but I don't think he respects her either at this point.
I don't think so either. I mean, I mean, and it's not that big of a gap in the age difference,
Mm-mm.
unless Lauren is older than what they're telling us she is. I don't know.
I think I'm gonna go with that. They're giving us her actual biological age, but what I'm gonna say, I'm gonna step out on a limb, and I don't like to talk about anybody's looks or appearance because none of us, we're kind of gifted with those from our parents, basically genetically speaking. Um, but a lot of people have said this, and I have to agree. I'm looking at her on the screen. I feel like Lauren is a older looking 31. Now, I have a daughter who's she probably won't want me to say, but she's in her 30s, and yet to look at her, she probably looks like she's still in her 20s, and I can't really say that for Lauren. This particular Lauren,
Yeah,
I
the
can't.
year, I would say the years have been unkind. The years have been unkind.
I think it's a genetic thing when I'm looking at and I study faces. I no, I'm not trying to be, again, I'm not trying to be funny, but because I used to model and I
Yeah.
used to study pictures and I used to study pictures so that I could get my pose and things. And then I even had to study my own pictures from numerous photo shoots. What's my best angle? Again, I think it's just kind of genetic. I just think she, happens to be from a family. She has certain features that make her look older than what she is. Um, I'm thinking, and I don't know if we'll ever find this out, but I wanted her to stay on the show longer. I think that Lauren, physically looking at her from my trained eye, I think one of the things that we're seeing is, and that people may or may not notice, but I particularly pick up on, she's lost a lot of weight. If you look at the stretch marks
Mhm.
on her arm, I would say that she was probably a very, very overweight woman, and she worked very hard and possibly could have even had weight loss surgery to lose maybe 100 or more pounds. So I think that
Mhm.
makes a difference in how a person looks. What is High
Okay.
Vibe saying? Yeah,
So
yeah. See,
that's
like
just,
High
yeah.
Vibe is pointing out elasticity. And High Vibe, if you think about that, you look at her arms and you see the stretch marks. Do you think that perhaps, like I do, that she at one point was maybe a very overweight woman and maybe she
Could have
lost
very well
80?
been. That's what it
eh,
is.
Yeah, 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 yeah. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and Orion, yes, he does too. But then he's a man. I hate the double standard. I know, but I don't think, for me, I don't find him particularly physically attractive, period, anyway. And it's not even to do with how old he looks or doesn't look. I don't. I just don't find him particularly attractive. But I would give him, if I were just walking down the street or somebody was forced put a weapon to my head and said you have to guess his age, I would guess that he's early 30s. So he's a little bit older, but it's not to the point where we're seeing the kind of things that we're seeing with Lauren, with the elasticity in her skin, with the droopiness in her body. It's not to that degree. That's me. That's just me thinking and me talking and me giving my opinion. So you can agree or disagree. Join me in the chat and tell me if you disagree, because that's fine too. But I just don't see him as looking his age and looking older. Because if you're 20 something and you actually look like you're early 30s, it's not that big of a difference for a
True.
man. And a lot of men don't really come into their good looks and attractiveness until they get in their 40s. So it's kind of there is a different standard for men and women, because an older looking man, and it could even mean that the man is more affluent and has more money to spend on the woman. So we definitely view that in our society different. Hi Vibe, hey there, how you doing? She says yes. I did think she probably, yeah. So I'm not the only one, and like I said, I spend a
Well,
lot of time in the field of looks, so I kind of,
mhm. Well,
yeah,
the
I
thing
can
is
say.
that with the gastric
Hmm.
bypass, a lot of people don't realize that you have to have a body lift afterwards because you have all this excess skin hanging,
Right, and this is
skin
what I
fold.
was just about to
So
explain to
yeah,
Roro, is that, yeah,
hmm
a loose skin has to be
yeah, because it doesn't go anywhere. I mean, they don't cut that
right.
off and nothing like that. So you have to have a body lift.
Right. Surgically removed. I'm putting that in the chat.
Hmm
Right. And not everybody, and here's the thing about that. Not everybody has the money for that. And
hmm
that's not a surgery that your insurance is going to say, "Oh, like if you don't have that, it's going to it doesn't matter. That's an elective surgery. So that means, guess what? You electively have to come out of your pocket with $10,000-$15,000 to pay for the surgeons and the room and everything else. So unless you're sitting on a wad of cash, you may not be able to do that. That's the thing about that. So I've got a friend that actually had weight loss surgery a couple of years ago, and it has made a dramatic difference in her appearance. And really, of course, the real reason why she got it and she was able to get it was because she needed to lose the weight for health reasons. So that was
hmm
very important. So that's important. I'm not knocking it. I'm just saying that when we put these people on TV, um the little things that are little in person become big things, because guess what, we've got this HD TV now that everybody has, and everybody's sitting up on a 65-inch, 75-inch, 80-inch screen TV, and all you can do is just
You
see
see
the
everything.
thing. Yes, you can see everything, so anyway, but this is we're not going to keep you very long. We want to get to these points. So the first couple we're going to talk about this evening is this afternoon is Becca and Austin. And Becca and Austin, they are still on this episode. We see them still being physically close. They wake up in the morning, they're in each other's arms, they got nothing but grins on their face. They're very affectionate. What do you think about this couple, Sean?
Well, I think that right now, because they're in paradise and they're in the state of euphoria, that things are going to run smoothly. Um, but I think when the question remains to be answered when they hit tough times. You know, now Becca is the one who had surgery, right? If I'm not mistaken.
Yes, that's it.
Yeah.
That's correct. That's the one. She's one
So
lady with pink hair. Hmm.
yeah. So how is that going to happen when there's a flare up, or what's going to happen when there's a complication from the surgery or what have you? Is he going to tell them run, or is he going to stay there with her? As they say, for better or for worse, or for richer or for poor, sickness and health. So I think the test of the commitment will come then, um, when they hit that snag. If they, sure, if they we ever was privileged to seeing them hit that snag
Excuse
on
me, guys.
TV.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Exactly. Yeah, and I think he's gonna have to start thinking about this, and it's gonna at some point, like you said, I think during this 8 weeks, and we know that the show runs a lot longer than that. than that for us, 20 some odd weeks. He's going to have to, at some point, you imagine that he's going to see her being weak. He's going to see her being sickly.
Mhm.
And as a young person, how is he going to deal with that? Because not every healthy body young person who's never really been seriously ill, other than having a cold or maybe a flu here and there for a week or two, um, they're not going to really know how to deal with that. And are they going to want to stick around and think that this is going to be my life? And am I going to become this person's nursemaid? You know, I think
Mhm.
that's a real genuine thing. And on Becca's part, though, we find out that she has a lot of phobias and a lot of anxiety, which she's been able to overcome. And I have to give her kudos for that, because a lot of us deal with anxiety and with stress. You
Mhm.
know, and what
Yeah.
do you think about that? About her talking about her anxieties?
Well, that's the thing. I mean, when you marry a person, you marry the sum total of who they are and their experiences. And so, it's something that you don't see, particularly on this particular show, because you're marrying a stranger. It's not like y'all grew up together or knew each other. I mean, it's a chance, like when you had the John and Val, that they knew each other beforehand. You know, versus these people. I'm sure of transplants to Colorado, and so they probably never even knew each other, never crossed paths with each other, so they don't know anything about each other. So I guess the thing is learning to navigate through those tough spaces.
Hmm. I definitely agree with that. I think that it's going to be interesting when we talk about their scenes for next week, though, because one of the things this couple has done differently from for example, than Lauren and Orion, they have stayed away from the heavy uh serious topics, which maybe Lauren and Orion should have taken a page out of their book, but we'll get to them later, a little bit later. I don't understand, but I think for me, and you can tell me too, but I'm gonna ask you, what do you think if you were on your honeymoon and you were in this particular situation with someone you just met? Do you think that you would stray away from the serious topics, or what do you think you would do, Sean?
Yeah, don't rock the boat. Don't rock the boat. Don't rock the boat. If it's going so good right now, don't jeopardize it. Don't jeopardize it.
Yeah,
We're,
yeah.
we're not here to talk about religion and politics.
Yeah, we could do that back at home. And I think that that's something
we're
Lauren is
we're
really,
yeah we're in our utopia right now. So this is
yeah, we're in
our
our,
ideal world.
as many
Everything
of
is
the
paid
cast.
for. Yeah,
Yeah, right. When's the next time I'm going to get a free trip to Cancun? To me, I'm going to be
that's
soaking
right.
up
And
the
it's not
sun.
it's
Go
not a
ahead.
timeshare or nothing like that. So we're not forced to buy something at the end of the 90-minute presentation. So hey, let's just ride this wave while we can.
Ride that
Ride the
wave,
wave on
because
out.
right away on out. I'm a little bit upset that more of the couples didn't think like that. They really should have. But we're gonna move on to Claire and Cameron. And or wait a minute, no, I uh which one? Yeah, we'll go with Claire and
Emily
Cameron
Brenda
right
or
now.
Clarence Cameron.
uh,
Oh,
Claire and Cameron, the therapist that tries to therapize her husband. We're going to talk about them next. So we see that, from what I can tell, their relationship is still strained. It's still very awkward. Um, Claire is still behaving in that therapist type way with him, and then also, I don't know if anybody else is picking up on her. Maybe it's just me, but I feel like Claire thinks she's better than her husband. What do you think?
that's what it comes off that way. It comes off that she feels like she's the privileged white woman. She's the
Hmm.
poster child for affirmative action. That's what it seems like to
Yes.
me.
And she's very woke too. She's very woke. She
Yeah.
doesn't want her Caucasian husband to think that things will just be given to him. And
Hmm.
that's really funny. When I watch this, I'm like, you know what? Did the producers tell her to say that? Because
I'm sure they did.
that's just a little annoying.
I'm sure
But
they did.
They probably. I'm sure they did too. I think. I wonder how much of this, what we're seeing, is because there was a writer's strike in, SAG and after the unions were striking. because the quality of the production and the conversations that they're having, in fact, they're having way too many conversations. I would have liked to have seen more activities, but we're going to talk about. They went painting. They went painting, and I guess it was kind of like, it looked like it was that kind of like a uh glow in the dark type of paint situation, right? And they had
Yeah, it
on the
looked like a mixture
protective
of paint.
gear.
Yeah, looked like a mixture of paintball and
Hmm.
painting. I don't know what it was.
Yeah, but they had their protective cover over their face, but nothing to
Yeah.
protect their clothes. And at some point, while Claire was looking at her husband's painting, she decided that she was going to give him some help, even though he didn't request that she help him. And they it turned into a paint fight, which actually I found that to be kind of fun. I said, well, now at least they're having fun together. They're laughing. They're lighthearted. That's what I expect a honeymoon to be lighthearted, fun, romantic activities that you're doing together, creating these new memories that you're going to have for a lifetime. What did you think about the painting event?
Well, I thought he was gonna be upset when she said, "Well, can I put something on your?" He said, "No, no." He said, "No, can't do it." In his New Zealand accent,
Yeah, yeah.
uh, and I thought it was a way for him to release frustration. He couldn't wait to splatter her with some paint.
Oh yeah, he got
Uh,
her cover up, her white cover up.
yeah,
It was
yeah, I think he
loaded
was
with
waiting.
paint.
He was doing that. Yeah, he was waiting to do that. He was waiting to do
Hmm.
it. It was kind of
Yeah, I think.
revenge.
Yeah, yeah, but you know what? But she let loose and she was laughing and smiling and having fun. And then I
Oh
think on
yeah.
her part, with her being a little shrimpy lady, being a little short lady, she got off on being able to throw paint at this her big tall husband. So
Uh-huh. It could very
yeah.
well be. Yeah.
Excuse me, guys. Robo says that Claire acts very uncomfortable around Cameron. She does. She does. And
Yeah.
we're gonna talk about that because something that she said, we'll go ahead and talk about it right now. Um, Something that she
Mhm.
said, but she says this with the ladies. She doesn't say this in front of Cameron, but she's talking to the ladies later on, and she tells the ladies that she has never had a boyfriend or a guy to show her off to his parents and his family and his friends. So I'm like wondering, is that because you really haven't had a real relationship before? Because maybe her and Emily are in the same boat, and maybe we just don't know it. What do you think, Sean? Is that kind of normal?
Let me pull out my Steve Harvey book. Act like a lady, think like a man. If a man is
Hmm.
interested, he will profess his love for you. He will protect your honor, and he will provide for you and defend your honor.
Okay,
So that's what Steve Harvey says in his book.
that's true.
Act like a lady, think like a man. So I think if a man, you will know where you stand with a man, depending on how a man will show you to his friends or how he refers to you in front of his friends. Well, this is my lady right here. This is my lady. Or this is Aubrey. Okay, what is Aubrey to me? This is
Yes,
Claire. This
yes,
is Cameron.
that's
So
a
what
very
is your
good
relationship to
point.
me? Yeah.
Mhm. Right,
So
right. Because people will either introduce you by your name or by your relationship. And the relationship, if you're looking for love and you think that you're in a romantic relationship, the relationship is actually the better title than for him to call you by your
yeah.
name. You know.
Hmm. Because it,
So
it shows a special affinity. Shows a special affinity to you. That yes, she's off limits. She is mine. She's not my property, but she is of me and I am of her. And we are together. Instead of
right.
this is just person X. Just another woman that's just had to be keep around me. You know.
Right. You know what? Someone said it the other day. Someone said somebody else is on another show, flavor of the week, as if they're the flavor of the week or the flavor of the month. So yeah, I
Yeah.
just kind of had to wonder, but then I thought to myself, I said probably the reason why nobody's really introducing Claire around like that is because Claire is so freaking annoying. She talks so much. She's Gabby, 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 Gabby. She talks in circles. She contradicts herself. I don't get Claire. I really don't. Other than the fact that she seems like an overly entitled Caucasian woman that on any other day would probably be a Karen. I just don't get
Yeah.
her. I really, really
You
don't.
know, and
But
she probably is a Karen.
yeah, she's trying to play it cool around Lauren so far with the girls talk, but we'll see though. And then,
Hmm.
like I said, I don't think Lauren's going to be there much longer, so she isn't going to have to worry about biting her tongue or being inclusive or anything like that because Lauren ain't gonna be there. But the next couple up, we've got Emily and Brennan. Of course, Emily is the one we know that likes to drink a lot, and Brennan is the really handsome Russian guy, 100% Russian. So Emily
Hmm.
and Brennan, they go on this water thingy. What was that called? The little water thingy that they went on. Like it's not a jet ski. It's
Float boarding, float boarding, float boarding,
float boarding.
float
Yes,
boarding.
thank you.
Yeah.
Float boarding.
Hmm.
I was not familiar, but that looked fun. But it also looked like it takes a lot of
Oh,
good
flat
balancing
boarding.
to
Excuse me, flat boarding. I said float boarding. Flat boarding.
fly
That's what I
boarding.
meant. Flat
Okay, so
boarding.
so what did you think about that? I noticed her husband didn't ever seem to really ask her about her how did she feel her sprained hand when she went to pull herself up on the dock. You could see how swollen and red her right hand still was. So I don't get it. What did you think about her husband and how he seemed to just kind of think she's one of the boys?
Yeah, yeah, and I think they were doing activities apart because that was what he wanted to do, as opposed to doing things together. Uh, I don't know. I mean, not that you have to do everything together. And of course, like I said, once again, we're only seeing the edit. So, but I think that honeymoon time should be a time to do things together, to bring building a bridge of bonding between the
Hmm.
couples, with with each other. Not
Hmm.
saying you can't bond in singular activities, but it just seemed like it was inconsiderate just to do that, and because you've always wanted to do that. Yeah,
Yeah, with her hand being sprained like
yeah,
that. I guess it's not
mhm,
broken, but it's actually sprained. And
yeah,
as somebody that has sprained, my hand before, that's very uncomfortable. And from my
hmm,
experience, it took weeks for that to feel normal. It took weeks.
yeah,
uh
for
Brennan
sure.
was more concerned about Emily being tough. Yeah, and that for me, that was like a real trigger when he was saying about how tough she is and how strong she is. As a black woman, that was a trigger for me because I kept thinking, wow, men are always
A strong
expecting
black
women
woman.
to be. I don't know if I want to be that strong. I don't want to be that tough, especially not on my honeymoon. Hopefully, I don't know how she slipped and sprang it in coming out the shower. I guess maybe the towel was wet or something like that. But I don't want to be that tough. What about you, High
Come
Vibe?
on,
Do
you're
you
being
want to be
such a
that
girl.
tough?
You're being such a girl.
That
You're
you
being
know
such a
what?
girl.
I
Come
am a
on.
girl. I am a girl, so I don't have a problem with that. I be the girl than my husband be the girl. So I don't have a
I know that's
problem
right,
with
right?
you know, especially when one of the strongest things a person can do is give birth to a child. I've already done that successfully twice, so I don't know how much
Okay.
stronger anybody can be than to give birth and go through that trauma to the body. But anyway, but yeah, but I just don't like it about him not seeming to really want to ask her about her arm and really stopping to he just had to do that. That just was a little bit annoying to me. But I got a note about Emily. So when Emily was talking about everything seems to be normal with her husband, and this is again going back to when the women are all together in the pool area, and it was just the women, and she's telling this to Claire. And I wrote a note in here. I said, wow, this is kind of like the blind leading the blind because Emily has already confessed several times she's never been in a relationship. Now she's trying to tell people how to have a relationship. Like, what? What are your thoughts, Sean?
I mean, the underlying issue, everyone has issues. Some are just more obvious than others. Some are just hidden and ready to come to the surface. Some have already come to the surface. And like you said, it's just the blind leading the blind. Like, I'm this expert now. I've only been married for a minute now, but I'm an expert at it. So it's just what it seemed like to
Hmm.
me.
Yeah, and even my girl Lauren, she's talking like she's kind of getting to be an expert, and that she's letting the ladies know that her and her husband, they had a little bit of an issue. They had a struggle, but they seem to be doing better now. And I'm thinking to myself, Lauren, if you were a psychic, you would know what you're about to walk into. But okay. I think my biggest problem with Lauren is I feel like Lauren doesn't read the room. She doesn't read the room. And then this other thing, she wants to be this activist for race and race relations with her husband. And I can tell, I said, clearly this is her first relationship with a man not of the same ethnic group, because one of the things you don't do when you're dating outside your race is you don't make race an issue. It's not to say that you don't talk about race, you don't talk about racial differences when they come up. But for me, I don't see the need every day, every waking moment, you're going to be talking about race, you're going to be talking about culture. Why? Get a couple things out the way first. For me, it was always when I'm dating outside my race, have you dated other Black women? That's my first question. How did that
Mhm.
go? What was that like for you? And they can ask me the same question. Have I dated outside my race? What was that like? And other than that, I don't really need to know all the background of your race. For me, I feel like as black people in America, we already understand quite a bit about Caucasians. So if you're dating a Caucasian, which, and by the way, we're going to talk about this a little bit later, the fact that her husband is biracial, one of the people in my comments section last week really pointed that out and made a very good point that Orion is actually not just native, he's also Caucasian. And how does that affect his thinking toward Lauren? And I thought that was a very good point. Um, what are your thoughts about that? How do you think that might affect his relationship with Lauren?
Well, it goes back to I'm only native when it's to my advantage.
Yeah,
I'm
it
only
made
native
me
when it
think
comes to
of,
my advantage. I mean,
right, when I can be a minority, when I can well, it
I can get
made me
some
think, and
benefits
I
out
don't
of
want
it.
to get some benefits out of it. And I don't want to seem cynical, and I don't want to be cynical, but it reminded me of my son had the privilege of going to school. It was a public school, but a lot of wealthy people attended this public school. A lot of doctors and lawyers kids attended this school, very affluent, right? And it reminded me of this one young guy that they went to school together, and his father was Caucasian, but his mother was from South America. And so when we were planning for our kids to get ready, this is going middle school, going into high school, we were planning for our kids, and there was a number of great schools in the area, and a lot of programs to apply for college. I think no, as we were applying for college. And he called me up and he was talking to me, and he said, well, I like this information that you mentioned about minority students, this program that you were telling me about, or I heard you telling some other parents about. And I kind of got quiet because I'm thinking, like, he's not a minority. This guy is Caucasian. And but then he, explained, which I had met his wife. She's from South America, and he's saying, well, my son is, has got this Latino culture in this background. So of course he's playing that up so he doesn't have to pay for college. And I said, wow, that's amazing to me.
Mm-hmm.
That is amazing. Yeah, that's amazing. Sometimes people are only minorities when it's beneficial to them. So that's just one way. And not
Mm-hmm.
saying that this is Orion, but maybe it is, maybe it isn't. But I find it very interesting. So as we're talking about Lauren and Orion, um, one of the things that we see when they open up in one of the first scenes with them, Lauren admits that she actually slept away from her husband, so that she didn't disturb him, which gives me the feeling as a woman that she's walking on eggshells. He says that they have a very offbeat vibe right now, but he's working on that. What were your thoughts about her sleeping on the sofa away from her husband? And they're just a couple nights into their wedding, their marriage.
Uh, I'll say this, and I use the word man, but I guess you can use the word woman interchangeably. Okay.
Okay. All right.
There's a quote that says, "The measure of a man is not where he stands in moments of comfort and convenience, but where he stands in times of challenge and controversy." Okay.
All right. That has a great
So,
ring of truth to it. Yes. Hmm.
if you faint in the day of adversity, if you shrink back, if you pull away just 2 days into this and don't resolve conflict in a healthy manner, that little space is going to turn into a whole lot of space. You know, what it does is that it invites greater problems. I think, when her
Yeah.
sleeping on the couch, talking about, I want to just give him time to cool off. Hey, well, I mean, he ain't put his hands on you. You ain't put your hands on him. So hey, just get in the bed, just go and get in the bed. We'll talk it through. We'll work it through. And I think that's the
Yeah.
bad way to deal with it. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's a good point. I think for me, I'm always thinking about my back. I'm sorry, I'm at that age now, and I've had some issues with my back, and I'm not gonna sleep on no sofa. I mean, that's
Mm-hmm.
like a last resort for me. And if there's a perfectly comfortable bed, and said bed in the resort probably is a king size bed, we don't have to talk about anything. I understand that this is the night we're going back now to last week when her and her husband Orion were having that tiff about when she laughed in his face because he was sunburned, and she said that she didn't understand the skin word, put an R in front of it, the Washington
Mm-hmm.
X skins. Okay, so I'm just saying, I would not personally, I would not have slept on the sofa or even in another bed. To what you're saying, Sean, very good point. I would not have done it. What I would have done is, and probably because if they've not been, I don't know if they've been cuddling the nights prior to it. It seemed like they were a little bit. She's a little bit physical with him, but I probably would have just avoided that. But I would have just got in the bed and said goodnight, been in a sweet tone, and I would have went to sleep. But I'm not sleeping in a,
Mm-hmm.
like you said, it's not like he put his hands on her, she put his hands on him. Nobody's gotten physical. Nobody's even went as far as even cursing each other out that we could see on screen.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that you do have to, what's it's another saying too to what you're saying, that married couples should try to apologize and forgive each other at the end of every day, not go to bed angry, which I don't know if that's always possible as a married couple, but you should try not to. And on that note, I'm
Mm-hmm.
not sleeping in another room. Now, if it got to raised to a really higher level, and he needed to go sleep in another room, then I'm perfectly fine with him sleeping on the sofa. But I ain't sleeping on the sofa. That's just was not happening here. That's all I can say on that. But anyway, the other thing is, so they were talking, and I noticed with Orion his language. This is a direct quote. When he was talking to Lauren, he said that when it comes to matters of religion and race, there's always an opposing side. And Lauren corrected him and she said, well, maybe not even an opposing side, but just a differing point of view. And I had to say, I did agree with her in that moment that why is he jumping to an opposing side, and that people just can have differing viewpoints, and that goes for whether you're the same ethnicity or not. You can have a different viewpoint.
Mm-hmm.
You can both be Caucasian, you can both be black, and black people are not monolithic. Caucasian people aren't
Mm-hmm.
monolithic, so you're going to have different viewpoints. In fact, in
Mm-hmm.
life, unless you're the exact same person, even twins, I imagine, probably have disagreements. What do you think?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean it does. I mean, you're not going to find somebody to agree with you 110% of the time. You're not even going to agree with yourself 110% of the time. So I don't even agree with me. I mean,
Right.
and that's why we as humans we have the ability to change our mind. So you look at it from your perspective, I look at it from our perspective, and then somehow we'll find a happy medium. To find a common ground on which we can build a foundation. You know, um, and this stuff is just too early in the marriage to be coming out.
Yeah, I think that my question is so this is what I found. So always doing and always getting these articles on the couples and their
Hmm.
last names, their information, where they're
Hmm.
originally from. And the one thing I noticed early on with this series is that there's no information. I think at one point I saw Lauren's last name being G. I guess she's contacted one of
Hmm.
my colleagues out there in the YouTube streets, and she let them know that she's watching, their podcast. But
Hmm.
one thing I noticed right off the bat was that Lauren's last name was never displayed fully. All of the other cast members, we all knew their last names. So Orion is Martzloff. So Martzloff, immediately when I heard that name, I thought of German and I thought of Jewish. If anybody is out there watching on the replay or in the chat right now, that is a surname specialists. You know that certain names that end with ski, for example, typically are of Polish descent. There are certain names that
Polish.
start
Hmm.
there are certain names that start with O. We know that typically they are from the country Nigeria. All names, all surnames really do have many names. I won't say all, but many names do have a specific place in the world where they come from or where they originate from. So Martzloff, again, it just to me did not sound as though his name that's not his indigenous family surname. So I'm
Hmm.
pointing out the fact that he is biracial. So then that makes me wonder about what kind of relationship did he have with his father? And I think the only thing that we've seen on screen is that he has mentioned that his dad left the home and left the family when they were very young.
Hmm.
So that brings me to the fact that if you guys recall that in earlier episodes at the wedding, for example, on that episode where he met Lauren's dad, he told her father that he wanted to live in New York. He wanted a home in New York. He wanted a home in Colorado. And that he also said that he didn't particularly like women that were pushy, bossy, or what we would call maybe boss women. So I'm wondering, what did you think of that when he said that early on in the season that he doesn't like strong women? And we know that from what Lauren has presented to us that she is kind of a successful woman in her career with the federal government. I do believe is what she said her occupation. She worked for the federal government.
Well, I think that that probably was brushed up a little bit, um, because he comes from a culture that he says that's very matriarchal. But I don't think he can suffice to stand it when a black woman being as assertive as, say, for instance, as his mother would be. I mean, it's okay that mom does it because she's native or what have you.
Okay,
But
yeah,
you're a black woman. You can't do this. You can't. You're a black woman. You can't put me in my place. You can't be assertive. You can't be strong like that. You can't be overpowering like that because that's just not your place. That's what I
right.
believe.
Yeah, that's what I thought was really odd that he's saying he's from a matriarchal family, like you said, his mother
Hmm.
being the leader of the family, and that
Hmm.
oftentimes in his culture as an indigenous person, that
Hmm.
oftentimes women are very strong and very forward. I found that very a little discombobulating that he would say that he doesn't want a woman telling him what to do. Um, and I guess I took it, I'm going to say this. I kind of read between the lines, and maybe
Put
I'm
the word
wrong.
black woman in between.
Yeah, yeah, that, and then also, yeah, that, and also that part, Sean. But also, I felt like he was saying, not only this being assertive. I was like, well, I'm not really understanding, but yet you're talking about on the one hand, you want to be the 80/20 provider, but you're not there yet. I'm really struggling to understand Orion. I'm really struggling to understand him. Do you understand what he's saying? Like, as a guy, you're a guy. Help me out here. Do you understand what he's saying about a woman not being the boss, or is that the way most men would feel? You think?
I guess if I was married to Oprah Winfrey, I guess I would be Mr. Winfrey. You know,
Oh, you wouldn't mind? Okay.
I guess he feel like
I'm
it's kind
already
of hot. It's kind of hard to roar like a lion when you're feeling like a lamb. So I guess
okay.
he, I guess he's making an excuse beforehand. Look, I'm the man, even though I'm a man, irrespective of how much less money I make compared to what you make.
Right.
And I'm quite sure she commands a high salary.
Yeah.
And so I'm
Mhm.
sure. And look, you're not gonna be the boss here at the house. You're not gonna tell me what to do. But I think if his wife
Mhm.
was of a different complexion or different race, if you want to call it that, then he would have
Yeah.
no problem with it. He would have no problem with it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I want to know. So this is bringing up this week and last week is bringing up all kinds of questions for me as a black woman that has dated outside of my race many times. I was in a long term relationship with a man who was born and raised in the UK for over a decade, I want to say, and I don't know. I just and he was Caucasian. Um, I just never had these kind of issues. We see Lauren anyway. We move forward. We see Lauren bring Orion some ice cream, and she did remember his favorite flavor, which I thought was very thoughtful. So they enjoyed and indulged in the ice cream, and they seemed to have a good time. But in the last scene, and this is what we're going to really talk about, in the last scene, as they're out having dinner, um, they start off on a really good note at first with her saying that she really likes to touch him. She enjoys his skin. We noticed that on the boat scene that they she was lying in his lap. She seemed very comfortable, but when I looked up in his face, he didn't seem to be particularly enthralled by it. Most men, if a woman's got her head in their lap, most men would be rubbing their wife's shoulders, put their hand on their wife's waist and be really affectionate. I didn't really notice any of this. So I'm not one. I'm wondering, is Lauren not noticing this? Because you got your head in a man's lap. Come on now. It don't take a rocket scientist to figure out what could be possibly going through his mind. What about you, Sean? What do you think?
Yeah. Once again, is it's not reciprocated. It's not reciprocated. Um, that I mean, I would be rubbing my woman's arm, face close, caressing her face or her hair or whatever else if she was laying in my lap like that. You know, uh, that tells you how safe she feels and comfortable she feels with you. But I don't see it reciprocated from his end to her end. If he say he's an affectionate person, I don't see it. I can't see it. I can't
Right.
see it at
Yeah.
all.
I don't see it either. That's what I'm thinking. But so she's still talking. Like I said, she's not noticing any of these things and of course, we do have an advantage because I will say, if you're rewatching something, even in your own life, as you think back on things that happened to you and an old lover, you're going to pick up things that you didn't pick up when you were right there in that moment, right? So we do have that advantage over her.
Mhm.
But she continues to talk, and talk is getting kind of scandalous as she tells him that she would love for foreplay to start off with him kissing her from head to toe and everything in between. And we'll leave all that in between stuff to you guys' imagination. I thought it was interesting when she asked him about toys. Is he okay with the use of toys in intimacy? And and when he said that he had a whole slew and a whole collection of toys, I was like, what? What kind of toys does the guy have? Like what in the world? Come on, Shy. You must know. You must know. You're a cultured and educated man. You must have some idea about what
I,
he's talking about. Because
I
I
ain't
know
got no
there's a lot
toys
of
or
things.
nothing.
I just
I
want
ain't
to
got no
know, like,
toys.
without being too lewd. Okay, kind of,
Don't
remember.
don't don't handcuff me because I can't. I ain't gonna trust that you're gonna be able to find the key. Don't handcuff me.
Oh, wait a minute.
No,
Oh, so,
no,
oh, like, yeah, okay. So that's those are
no.
toys. Okay, now you, okay. So the handcuff and the key, the little soft handcuffs with
don't
the little. You don't want to be handcuffed.
don't spank me because you might hit me too hard. Don't spank me because you might hit me too hard. No, no, no. I'm
Yeah, I
screaming
don't
because
want
you
to
might
be
hear me do
hit.
it.
I don't want to be lashed. This is not ready to love, and you are not. What was
Yeah.
that guy's name that was into the
Uh,
domination of it all? What was his name? The guy from
oh, you're
last
talking
season,
Marvin. Marvin, yeah.
Marvin. Yeah,
Marvin. Marvin.
Marvin. Oh my gosh, I'm
Yeah.
not into that and all that
I
voyeurism
do
and
not have a dungeon.
yeah, we see that it's getting
I do not have
some
a
people
dungeon.
in some deep trouble too. All of this stuff that's going on. But when he said he had multiple toys, I was like, the only men that I know that have toys are well, okay. Moving on. So
Yeah.
anyway,
Yeah.
he said he had his toys.
Yeah.
And then this is where the topic turns really takes a very left turn. Lauren, once again, not being very emotionally intelligent, just not really being able to read the room. She asked him, how long has it been? And he tells her that it's been over a year and a half. Now, ding, 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 ding. The first thing as a woman and as an adult person, I'm thinking if I hear a person telling me and I'm romantically interested in them and they're telling me they have not been active in over a year and a half, I'm about ready to change the topic and go on because if I've been like in her situation, she uh blurts out basically just like she laughed in his face, very, very much a blurter and very much like I'm gonna get this out. I don't care how you feel about it. When she blurts out that she's been with somebody like 2 months to the day, almost as if she's bragging about it, I'm like, what in the world are you doing, girl? Do you not care about your marriage? Do you not know how men have a double standard that they can do whatever they want to do and then a woman becomes a slut if she does and if she is actively engaging in a hot and heavy time? Like what part of that did you miss in basic understanding of men? That has not changed since the beginning of time, girl. What how did you read this when she blurts out the 2 months?
She definitely. I agree with Roro. She definitely went too far in that um, comment. I mean, because I mean, I know we keep blaming production. I don't know whether that was production induced or not. I'm not sure. I mean, I don't know too many women that ask a man, "So when the last time you
Right.
engaged?"
That's first.
Um, I, I know that's a question that some men want to know, but some men don't venture down that road. So, I mean,
I
I
think
don't
the
know how we
wisest
got
don't.
that high. Yeah, most of us really don't know. I mean, because
Exactly.
we have that thought of man, because they quite, what's your body count? What's your body count? Well, either A, I'm going to tell you a number that's real low to make you think that I'm this wholesome, pure, pristine person, or if I tell you something too high, you might think I'm this SLUT.
Well,
You understand?
I'm here to tell you that that's not a question that grown women, should be answering. If you're out there answering that, you're a fool because the man is really tricking you. Okay, he just wants to put you into a box and toss away the key and throw you out and not have any respect for you. Stop answering that question. That's private.
Well,
That's
well,
private.
because
And
we look at it
unless you
and
have children,
uh-huh.
maybe none. Maybe none. Maybe I've
Yeah,
never done it.
yeah,
That's not for you to know.
yeah,
I didn't
yeah.
like that. Let me just say
I
this. Let
mean,
me just say this. I well, hold on. Let me just
go
say
ahead.
this. I gotta have this rant. As a young girl in high school, boys would ask you this question about, have you been active? Have you had hot and heavy time yet? That's really none of your business, whether you're a boy, a teenage boy, or whether you're a 45-year-old man and I'm a 40-year-old woman. That's really none of your business. Like, if you know that I have children,
See,
well, quite honestly, you can make the assumption
you know,
that I've
I've
had.
done it.
Yeah, if you know I've been married before, you could make the assumption, and that's quite fine. But for you to sit up, I'm never going to ask. I'm never going to answer the question of what's your body count. That's not for anybody to know. That's not for anybody to know
Hmm.
because that question is like, unless it's like really when somebody asks me what political party do I belong to, unless I bring it up, that's not for you to know. Don't ask me what
True.
political party I belong to. Don't assume I'm a Democrat. Maybe I'm a Republican. Maybe I'm an independent. But don't ask. If I'm not talking about
Hmm.
it, and if you don't see the lawn sign on my front lawn and you happen to be my neighbor, don't ask me what political party because those things are very private. Now go ahead.
Yeah,
You were going to say.
yeah. I mean, I think 'cause some women, I'm not gonna say every woman. I think some women think uh, that's a male prerogative. Well, man, man gonna be a man anyway. And look at many churches. We always hear about the virtuous woman on Mother's Day. Well, but there's no scripture about a virtuous man. you know, I mean, so and society has evolved into that point of thinking that men are these overly hypersexualized creatures
And in our
that we are.
community, to be fair, they are. A lot of
Yeah,
men
and
are
see, and that's what's pitched to us: the hypersexualization of the black male.
of
The
the
black
black
male,
male. Yes,
yeah,
absolutely.
because it's the same thing that was pitched in the late 1890s, what they call the Negro problem. It was the Negro considered the Negro problem that the black male was a brute, the black male was a beast, and the black male was a
Okay.
savage. Now we come back over 100 some odd years later, referring to ourselves by the same lingo. I'm a savage. I'm a
Mhm.
savage. I'm a brute.
Yeah.
I'm a beast. I'm a beast. I'm a beast. There was an article I gave my students years ago, a few years ago. I never forget, and they had LeBron James with a woman in his arms and doing like a pose. And then they
Oh,
had a
I
picture they
remember
put
that.
with
That was
With King
horrific.
Kong.
I did
Yeah,
not
with King
understand
Kong.
that.
Yeah, it was picture next to King Kong with a white woman and doing the same pose. And so I asked my students the question. I said, "What is this showing? What is this saying about the black male? And what is it saying about the black male?" Yeah, and they really couldn't
Yeah.
see it because he's the best of all time. He's the greatest. He's the GOAT. Right?
Right.
I said,
Yeah.
well, look
They
at it
don't get
beyond
it.
that. Look at it
Hmm.
beyond that.
The
Because at the same
stereotype.
time, the same it's a stereotype that the black male, that's all he wants. And when you go back through the line, like Jack Johnson, he was convicted of the Mann Act. The
Oh,
Mann
I
Act
remember
was
that.
it was a yeah, it was a crime to take a white woman across state lines for purposes of fornication. You know, and so that was his supposedly crime. They don't know what he did with her, but the idea he took her across state lines, because they believed that the black man was a beast, the black man was a savage, the black man was immoral, very immoral. He was not the upstanding citizen that the white man could be, what have you. And then when you look at a lot of our music is hypersexualized, that celebrates the culture of promiscuity with men.
Yeah.
Now we're seeing the women, seeing
Right.
women being stereotyped in that
What
fashion. So
can I
back to the
can I just
question.
ask
Yeah,
you
go ahead.
this?
Go ahead. Go
Do
ahead. Go
you
ahead. Go ahead.
see
Go ahead.
hip hop is also doing that? Because I've told one of my former co-hosts on this show, on this podcast, I used to speak to him about how I felt like hip hop music, rap music, uh kind of does that thing to in our black community. It over sexualizes black people. And he didn't quite want to see that, but then eventually he said, "Yeah, I think you may have some points there." What are your thoughts?
Well, I think it does because it has devolved from socially conscious rap. If you remember, I think one of the last socially conscious rap records was like self-destruction, headed for self-destruction. Talking about black on black crime and all this social ills in the black community.
Okay.
After
Okay.
that, look, we got to stop this. We got to start talking about prison. We got to start talking about drugs. We got to start talking about gangs. We got to start talking about sex and all that. And so they flipped the whole message.
We say hot and heavy
So
time over here, Sean, just for future
okay.
reference.
Oh,
We don't
hot,
use the
hot, hot,
SEX
hot and
word.
heavy time. Okay,
Yeah.
okay. I want you to stay monetized. So yeah,
Hmm.
it went from positive rap music to now everything in the gutter. Now you see more women in the video that don't have anything to do with the video, but it feeds the fantasy of the black male per se. Just like when I saw what's that video? It was a video they showed
Well,
Nelly.
before we
Nelly.
get off into before we get off in particular videos, but I will say this because we as we wrap up, it's almost an hour. I will say this though too. I think that also the lifestyle. So it's not just even the records, but it's the
Yeah.
lifestyle that we see on social media, like places like Facebook, Instagram, particularly Instagram, where you see this lifestyle. What's the rapper or the artist? I don't even know what she does, but ever since I got back on Instagram, I'm sad to see this woman, Christian Blue, and then Blueface or whoever this guy is, and he's allegedly beating on her, and she's allowing it. And of course, right now we got in the news currently, one of the biggest moguls of the rap era is P. Diddy, Sean Combs, Puff Daddy or whatever you want to call him, being accused of these horrific acts. I mean, he's coming off, and then now he's even being linked with Epstein. Like, like really. I mean, I'm not surprised because these are all things that we've all heard for decades. So I don't think anybody is surprised. But getting back to the show, getting back to Married at First Sight, for Lauren and Orion, I don't see it. I think that she missed the mark, that this man is physically not attracted to her. She missed the mark by trying to play school teacher and trying to teach him about racism in America. Save that for another day or the classroom, because in a interpersonal relationship, those type of things, you talk about it, but you talk about it as it comes up. No need to sit and stew in stuff and trouble that hasn't already started. Focus on the here and now, Lauren. Just like Claire is not focusing on the here and now. That's the therapist with Cameron, the guy from New Zealand. She's also trying to rush things and be too heavy on the conversation. And then I want to point this out for production's sake for Orion and Lauren. Why did this couple not have an activity where they actually did something? Why are they always just soaking in the water, soaking in the sun? They're not going swimming. They're not going boating. They're not going to play golf. They're not doing anything constructive, but they're just yammering on. I feel like for me as a woman, the one thing I do understand about men is I'm never going to be all up in a man's face, yammering at him, yammering with him. I will take my love and my beloved on a walk, and we'll discuss. We'll always have some motion involved, because most men, I forget what it's called in educationally. Maybe you can help me with this, Sean. But educationally, there's a term where people, particularly male people, learn and process information better when they're physically, kinetically moving. Do you know what that term is? I can't remember from my educational classes what that term is.
You get
And then you
tactile
forgot.
learners, and then kinesthetic. Yeah, kinesthetic learners, tactile learners, verbal
Yeah,
learners,
yeah,
audio learners,
yeah, most.
audio visual. Yeah,
Right. But talking about the kinetic part, I think that's where it is. I can't think of
yeah,
the full
motion. Yeah, the
terminology.
connected is with motion. Yeah,
Right. So
the
I'm not
connected
going to
is
be
with
sitting
motion.
there
So
just.
yeah, things in motion.
Most men don't even like to talk like that. Like if they're not talking about
Hmm.
sports, like most men aren't even want to sit around talking with a woman. Like, just like when she was explaining to him about laying down her edges, and I'm going, this man don't really want to know that, but whatever. If you want to teach it to him and you want to make him your bonnet buddy, go
No.
ahead. But at some point, all of the feminine styles how we communicate with other women is not how you communicate with a man. Would you agree,
Well, that's
Sean?
true, and that's why some of the men. Yeah, I agree with you. Some of the men. That's the reason why some of the men that I accepted in the girl groups. That's the reason why they refer to me, girl. I mean, hey, girl. Uh, 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 I've even got to the point. I mean, and people talk about what is masculinity, what is femininity. I'm not saying masculinity got this hard, tough exterior, but I'm not saying femininity got this soft, dainty exterior. I'm just saying is that just certain things that men don't do.
Yeah, yeah,
I had to come to the point of basically getting comfortable with going in and buying your pads. I had to get comfortable going into the store buying pads. I mean, because I don't know what I'm looking for. I mean, I've never worn it. I've never worn tampons
Okay, we're going long
Not that.
here. We're going long. We're going long.
Yeah.
But for
So
next week we've got Becca and Austin are having a tough time. She wants to talk about religion and he does not. I think that's already a sign that he's probably an atheist or agnostic,
he
which,
probably
and
is.
maybe she is too. But I'm thinking, oh my goodness, like, yeah, that's gonna be
Yeah,
fun.
it's gonna
Emily,
hit the fan.
it's gonna hit the fan next week. And Emily and Brennan, we see them arguing and discussing when she says, "Do you know how to have fun?" And he's blowing up about that. So I think she's finally gotten tired of him being so non-concerned about her hand, her wrist being sore. And then we also see, no surprise here, Lauren and
Right,
Lauren is
right.
asking for a divorce and she's talking to Claire. And then we see on the screen, we see Pastor Cal, which a lot of people didn't recognize Pastor Cal without his infamous glasses that he's always taking off and wiping. So Pastor Cal is saying, "Do you want a divorce or not?" Guys, I think we've seen the end of Orion and Lauren. I think these two they're toast. They're done.
To the end of the road.
Well, guys, we'll see you back in about an hour for our next show. Our
Okay.
next podcast tonight will be Ready to Love, Make a Move. And Sean, I think we'll be back. I'll be back. JRXTV will be here. And we look forward to breaking down that episode of this week. And you guys, make sure you like the video. Make sure if you're not subscribed, we're still trying to get to that 3,000 mark. It looks like it's going to be almost impossible, but together we can do it. So I'm counting on you. I can't do it by myself, guys. Let's get that extra outro music. Say goodbye, Sean. He's giving us the peace
Later,
sign.
everybody.
All
Peace.
right. Deuces.
Deuces.